In this course, we're going to talk about some advanced use cases for calculation fields in Podio. Now, there's a whole world that sits behind advanced calculations. We'll talk about some different resources and things like that at the conclusion of this video. We could probably spend hours just on the calculations topic alone. But what we want to do is we want to keep this brief and concise, but we want to give you some different ideas and concepts so that you know what could be possible with things like advanced calculation fields so you can implement some of these use cases in your own environment. What I've done here is I've kind of separated these into two categories. The first being advanced calculations and formatting. We'll talk a little bit about how you can calculate values across applications and workspaces. So obviously one of the first things that a lot of people do with calculations is they will start to calculate differences between two values in the same application. We'll show you how you can start to calculate values across different applications and do some really cool things with those. We'll talk about how we can also use this to format values in different fields. So what you'll find as you get going with some advanced calculation use cases is that sometimes the number or string doesn't necessarily format the way you want it. There's some tips and tricks around being able to format different values using calculation fields. So we'll talk about that as well. Next category, we'll talk about using calc fields to improve the application interface and navigation. So some really popular use cases are implementing things like section headers. We'll show you how you can do that. We'll show you how you can then create navigation links that go to different section headers. And finally, we'll show you some examples of a markdown table where maybe we've got items that are related to the item we're looking at, and we don't want to scroll to the bottom to see all those related items. Maybe we don't want the related items field sitting in the middle taking up a bunch of room. We can create basically an HTML table of those related items using a calculation field. So again, big topic, big point here is that calculation fields support JavaScript. So there are things that we can do besides just basic calculation arithmetic inside of our applications. Let's go ahead and pop over. I've got this workspace set up. It's an insurance workspace. And really what I want to focus on isn't so much the context here, but I will point out that we're going to be working mostly in this app called Claims. This is an application where people can submit insurance claims. The context of this is that insurance claims at different stages will create different tasks for different people. And so we'll see how that comes in when we talk about an HTML table. What I want to do, though, is I want to click into our Claims app, and I'm going to go to one of our claims. And right out of the gate, you'll see a couple of things here. First thing you'll see is we've got this field here called section navigation links. And if we scroll down, you'll see we've got some different section headers. So we've got a section for first notice of loss. Basically, this is capturing information that is coming in via a web form. So we're taking all of that web form submitted information from the policyholder in this case, and we're storing it in its own section. Then we've got another section called claim stage and task section. Now, again, not necessarily related to calcs, but in this workspace, as we move forward through our claim statuses, it's auto-generating a series of predefined tasks and assigning those to different users based on the task. Now, as I said just a minute ago, we can come down and we can see all 9 of the claim tasks that have been assigned. But a lot of times people don't like coming all the way down. The only other alternative is to maybe slide in a related items field here that contains all of those tasks. But again, that would take up a whole lot of room in the interface as you get all of those tasks added, in this case, to the claim. So what we've done is we've used a calculation field to create this HTML table. And this is actually hyperlinked out to these items. So, if I just open one of these in a new tab, we'll see here that this goes to that actual claim task. Okay, so let's get to kind of the meat and potatoes of this and talk about the calculation fields themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in and modify our template. So you'll start to see here, some different examples of how we're using calculation fields to do some of these things. So here is our claim record name. We'll come back to that. Our navigation links, we'll come back to that as well. And here is a section header. I will post, links to some articles that we've got to give you examples of this. But again, the key point being that calculation fields supporting JavaScript allow us to do some cool things. So you'll see here, I've got a section header. It's just a very basic text, section header with a line underneath it. You can do things like create colored banners, for your section header. We've even seen users include images in their banner as well. So you can get really creative with that. It's kind of cool. But for purposes of this video, we're just going to use some basic, script to return just some text with a line underneath it. So you can see how we've then applied that to our different sections. So as we're laying our application out and designing things, we're just sliding in calculation fields and saying, this is what I want the calculation field to be. Now, let's come back up to the top and let's talk about our claim record name. So what we're doing is actually, let me close out of this here for just a split second. So you'll see our claim record name being a calculation field. Basically what it's doing is it's pulling the policyholder name. It's telling us what kind of incident were they reporting, and it's giving us the date that this incident was reported. And the way that we did that is we were able to get a value from another application. So in this case, we're using the @all function to go ahead and get access to the information from policyholders. So if I were just to do this real quick, let's just go add this here, @all of. You can see here it starts to pull in all of these fields that are available from related applications. So I can see here I've got fields from the related claims, from the related tasks. I've got fields coming in from the related policyholder. So what I did is I said, I want the name of the policyholder. And what I did is I used the with nulls option just in case it was pulling it and it was blank. We didn't want this to error out. So I'm getting the policyholder name. I'm appending that with a dash to what kind of incident would we like to report. That's coming directly from our application here. It's actually from this field, but it's coming from the same application. And we're saying we want it formatted month, day, year based on the date that the first notice of loss was reported. And again, that's a field coming from this application. So it's really cool. We're able to do a few different things in one calculation field. We're able to go grab the policyholder name. We're able to go get the type of claim here from the application. And we're actually able to go get the date and format it in a particular format that we want to create our claim record name. So pretty cool what we can do there. Next, we'll talk about the section navigation links. Now, you'll see here what we're doing is we're creating a series of variables, and each of these variables is returning a link. Now, here's how we're doing this. If we look at our first section, our FNOL, first notice of loss section, you'll see here we've got FNOL section, but there's this reference to field 6. Then there's this reference to field and field 5 and field 4. What I'm going to do is show you how to go get those field IDs from our application. So essentially, if I click claim section, it brings me right down to that section. If I click first notice of loss section, it's bringing me here. Each of these fields inside of our Podio application contains a specific ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come out to our applications page. I'm going to go to developer. And if I come down, we will see that each of our section headers contains a specific external ID. And this is what we want to collect to create our section headers. So when I'm saying I want to jump to this first field, which is actually our first notice of loss section, I'm jumping to field 6. If I want to get to the second one, I'm jumping to field. And the reason these are like this is I constructed this all out of order. So, we've got field 6, we've got field. If we come down, the next one's field 5. But I'm coming in here and I'm grabbing these external field IDs. And if we go back and look at our app template, this is what I'm using to construct these links. So I'm saying our first variable is the section 1. I'm giving it the name, and I'm putting in the link or the external field ID to create the link. And I'm doing that for each one of these sections that I have. Basically, then what I'm doing is I'm ending this with a result that is our first section, the hyperlink separated by a dash to our second and our third and our fourth. And again, if we come look at this, what that looks like is this. So I'm able to kind of bounce around between these different sections. So again, really helpful if you've got an application that's got a lot of fields, a lot of data, and you're trying to navigate these things quickly. You can even put in fields to take you back home to the top. There's all kinds of possibilities there. Next, what we'll talk about here is the ability to create markdown tables or HTML tables. So this is a bit more advanced, but again, really, really useful when we're talking about being able to navigate the interface of a Podio application. Again, I don't want to have to come all the way down to these tasks and see these, even though I can see the status and I can see some information that I've put here. What I want to do is I want to put this in a specific spot in my application layout, and I want to be able to do some certain things. One, I want to be able to hyperlink out to these. Two, I want to see these columns where I've got the task name, the status, the owner, and the due date. And what I did in this one is I actually gave it a little bit of additional script and said, when these things are marked complete, I just want strike through. Now, if we were to go look at this, again, this is a bit more involved in terms of the calculation field. We will provide, some knowledge articles and links to some examples for this. But this gives you a really good idea as to something that is a bit more advanced but possible using our calculation fields. So again, what I'm doing is I'm able to reach into our task application and I'm able to say, I want to see all of the task names. I want to see all of the task statuses. I want to see all of the owners, all of the due dates. In order to construct the hyperlink, I'm actually getting the task ID that's assigned to that specific task. What I'm then doing is I'm basically creating a URL. So our base URL to our claims is here. I can go ahead and combine that with our task ID, and that's going to give us our hyperlink. But you'll see here what I'm doing is I'm going back through, creating the URLs for each of the items, checking the due dates, making sure the due dates are formatted in the date format that I want. I'm adding and checking to see if our status is complete. I want to apply a strike through to these things. And I'm kind of fast forwarding through this because I've only got a minute left here. But then I'm able to come back down and reconstruct my table at the very end of this. So again, the result here being that I am able to create this table where I can quickly click through these things and go back as I need.